Alright, I bet you I'll lose this. What do you want to bet? Because I'm starting this out and I'm probably connected to my Wi-Fi as I pull away here to head to the office. Okay, yeah, I did disconnect for a second. But good morning on a rainy Monday morning. Reminds me of, what's that, the Carpenters? Rainy days and Mondays right here. But I'm excited. This is not a gloomy day for me, and I hope that despite the fact that it's a Monday and despite the fact that it's rainy and gloomy here in central Alabama, where I am today, that you're having a good, upbeat, positive day. So you've gotten engaged, you are getting married, maybe you picked a date, maybe you're trying to pick a date, maybe, who knows, what part of the planning process you've gotten to. Uh, there are certain basic things about weddings, and first of all, I'm going to state some facts about myself and my organization. Number one, we are a church, although I call it an abnormal church because we look at things a little bit differently than most churches, especially in our region. But we are a bona fide, legitimate church. We have a brick and mortar uh, with a sanctuary, with an office, and so forth and so on. So I want to get that out of the way first. We're not online ordained. We are experienced. And my training started, let's see, over 50 years ago. That's over 50 years ago my training started. My public speaking started a good 50 years ago. And so bottom line is experience in ministry, experience in serving people, experience in weddings. I was brought up, my father being a pastor, involved in weddings and eulogies and everything that a pastor, minister generally does. And back in those days, it was a lot different than what it is today. Back then, there were no wedding pros. There were no people putting themselves out as all this that we have today. Nowadays, weddings have gotten to be a huge industry. And that's part of what I want to talk about because that makes it for a lot of people even more confusing. Uh, you hear sometimes proper etiquette, what the bride should wear, what this should take place, who should pay for this, who should pay for that, and on and on and on and on and on. There's a bride, customarily for a long time, veils were common. Veils nowadays are very much a rarity. It's very seldom that a bride wears a veil. Out of the thousands of weddings I've done just in the last decade, I honestly can remember maybe two brides that actually kept the veil on her face, this in the traditional sense. Some have some kind of a head dressing, some have some kind of a veil that never really covers their face. Most don't have a veil, period. Um, so what you find is, and I tell all my couples this, that in weddings there's a lot of tradition, but there's no rules. And as we have seen, that those traditions change over the years dramatically. Now, there's a lot of wedding planners, wedding directors, gotten on the bandwagon with weddings. I got into weddings because I retired young and got bored, and there was a need. I was shared by a friend of mine that I should put myself out as a wedding minister because there was a need for such in my area. Since then, there have been many who do not have my experience or background that have put themselves out and tried to mimic what I do, and that's fine. That's what freedom is about. And they say that imitation is the greatest compliment that one can get. So thank you. You complimented me by, by doing that. The next thing is that, um, I think couples should sit back and they should really think from their pictures to their music to the clothes they wear to where they get married and all the above. You know, traditionally, early days, weddings took place in churches. Uh, the more elite, wealthy would have big affairs. Us commoners would have a small church wedding, and our friends, relatives, congregants would be there. Uh, Never understanding why we had bridesmaids and groomsmen, never understanding why the bride wore a certain color dress, and it faults, and a lot of it is the reasons that came about. Let's talk about the white dress for a minute. The reasons that came about, the real reason that brides wear white has nothing to do with the reason that was invented to justify it. Does that make sense? So the real reason that brides started wearing white at weddings is totally unrelated to what you have been told is the reason that they wear white. And so you're told that bride wears white because it is a symbol of chastity and purity and those kind of things. And it's just, that's far from the truth. Brides customarily wear white dresses today because there was some Queen of England back in the 18th or 19th century wore white at her wedding. Up to that point, brides were more frugal. They just generally would pick out one of their best dresses out of their closet, one they already had. They didn't look at it as, I'm going to have a dress that I'm going to invest big money in, be the most, and in most cases, the wedding dress is the most expensive dress that they've ever purchased and most likely will ever purchase in their life, and they buy it to wear one time. To me, I get the photographs, I get all that, but you can think about that. You can give it thought. Not all brides do. There are those that are smart enough to say, I like this dress. I like this color. Yes, 97% of the weddings that I'm engaged in and that take place are very traditional. And the brides wear white and the gowns and it all, after a while, if you've been to one wedding, you've been to them all. The only difference is what happens at the reception. What is the food good or not? Is the music good or not? Is the officiant minister well spoken? Did it make people laugh? Was it drab? Were you glad it was over with? That's it. Other than that, it's pretty much, you've been to majority of them. The same with pictures. You go and you look at the pictures that's taken, more often than not, what do you got? You could put them up by your parents' wedding pictures and your grandparents' wedding pictures if they had wedding pictures taken. And it's just, okay, except for the quality of the picture, the same poses, the same old. And it just isn't that unique. And that's fine if that's really what you want. Unfortunately, most couples, most brides, of course, they're not engaged in weddings. They don't have a clue. People have busy lives. They've got careers. They're going to college. They got things to do besides spend a lot of time investigating their, what they should do. Each year, now being very much in the wedding industry, if you will, each year they'll come out and, what's the styles this year? What's the colors this year? And, well, personally, I would want not to be like everybody else's. I would want mine to be unique. I'd want it to be about me, my favorite color, my style. Like there for a while, everybody was using these burlap for the tablecloths and the mason jars for drinking out of, and it's just a very common thing, and that died down. The same with the music. You would hear, of course, the old standard bridal march, dun, 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 that you would hear, but you don't hear that much anymore. Now we've come into a new song, A Thousand Years. And everybody, not everybody, caveat, there's always that unique person. Thankfully, the wedding I did yesterday, they had their own choice of music that some I'd never heard of before. And I think that's fantastic. It should be what you want. Unfortunately, these wedding planners, wedding directors, don't always think as liberally as, and it confuses the bride. It restricts the couple. These wedding planners, wedding directors, they all too often sometimes see things just one way. It was like they read a manual, they saw a YouTube video, and it's got to be this way. And if I've done a wedding, and it's like the DJ at the wedding, and just a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, the DJ at the wedding was playing music. Nobody was dancing, and so we intervened and said, let's get some people dancing. And so we directed him on what songs to play. It's like, play this song, give people out there that have fun, enjoy. That's why they paid for music, is to have fun. And with a little pushing and nudging to get the right music from the DJ, people got up and danced. And toward the end of the thing, the DJ said, that's the first time I've ever had anybody dance at the wedding. It's like, see, this is what you've got. People just don't know. They call themselves wedding professionals, but they're traditionalists from A to Z. They're very, you got to make it about you. I've had to tell some brides, it's like, these wedding directors, wedding planners, they've got sometimes tunnel vision, and they cannot see left or right from that. They have no peripheral to see that, oh, this will work. You really have to talk strong to them and say, no, this is the way I want it. I've had all kind of situations, and it's just amazing that they just get this tunnel vision like that, and they can't, they give direction in one way. They're traditionalists. But why would I want my event to be almost identical to every event that's taken place in the last year? It's not. It's common because all your peers are usually close in age, and you've got cousins and whatnot. So a lot of times, within a year or two, I hear it all the time that the family and friends will have 3 to 6 weddings in 1 year. So they're running to these weddings, and they see the same dress, they hear the same words. It's all just like, okay, another wedding. They feel obligated to go, but their heart is like, oh God, another wedding. They're happy for the bride and the groom, but there's nothing special. The pictures are the same, the dress is a little bit different, but they're still white. You know what I'm saying? They're still a wedding dress. And, everybody stands at the altar the same way, the guys stand the same way, and everything's posed the same way, and 9 times out of 10, even the bridal march is that, something like 1,000 years that you've heard ad nauseum, and it's like, why would I want to be a carbon copy of everybody else's wedding? I don't understand. That's me. But if you want a carbon copy, that's doable too. The bottom line is from my role as a wedding professional, I want you, the couple, to understand clearly that you can do what you want. You don't have to be a carbon copy of everybody else. There's no law that says I've married people at a booth at a Waffle House. I've married a couple in an aisle at Belk's. I've married people in the parking lot at a truck stop. I married a couple in the cab of an 18-wheeler. Do you see what I'm saying? They're just as married as you're going to be at your wedding. Because at the end of the day, this party, this celebration This ceremony does not create anything. It's just a ritual we go through, and that's it, and that's fine. I get that. I get the movement of it. I get the impact of it. I get that you want to share it with your family and your friends. You want to feel that you've made it formal. Not everybody's that way. I've had couples come to my office repeatedly, sometimes several times a week. They come dressed in their blue jeans and shorts and flip-flops and t-shirts. They get it. They've been together for a few years, or they've met a year ago, whatever. And they just for whatever reason, they want that piece of paper. They don't care if I say any words. All they want is like, can you legally sign this document so we can get our marriage certificate? That's it. And they're just as married as you're going to be after you spend tens of thousands of dollars on this big event. And that's the reality. That is 100% the reality. So if you want the big event, that is fine. Not taking away from it. I get it. I get the ritual. We're ritualistic animals. I get all that. I get how wonderful it feels, how wonderful it looks. I'm good at putting this stuff together. I'm good at also helping you decide what you want. Not what some wedding planner tells you, not what some wedding director urges you to do, not what some whoever, not what's on Pinterest, not what the video says, but what you want. So at the end of the day, that's it. That's not it, period. Keep that in mind. Keep it balanced. Keep it balanced, and then you can have fun with it because it's a celebration of love. You know, some people insist, about they want certain prayers said and whatnot. And I hate to tell them, I don't mind doing that. Clearly, I do it all the time. But here's the reality. No words I use are going to do anything for that couple. Half the time, they don't remember the words. No prayer that I give, no prayer that you give is going to change anything. If this couple has a belief in a God, it's their prayer that's going to matter to them. I've done weddings for the couples, and we're not religious. We don't want a prayer. And afterwards, somebody in the family would say, I can't believe they didn't have a prayer. It's like, how do you know they didn't pray? How do you know what they did or did not do in their hearts? You see? Balance. People's got to get their balance. I tell couples, this ceremony, even that piece of paper we call the marriage license, does not create the marriage. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Get over it. Get real. It does not create the marriage. Marriage takes place in the heart. The marriage license is a fairly new thing. That marriage license in our society, in our world, was created in the 1850s. The founding fathers did not have a freaking marriage license. They didn't go to the state and say, do I need to pay a fee so I can be in love and married? Do I need to pay a fee and get a piece of paper from the state saying that I can have sex with this person and live with them and not be in sin? Like your God is concerned about that piece of paper? All of that is fine. There's legitimate reasons to have that piece of paper. I get all that. But I also try to keep people balanced. I'd be remiss if I didn't pull people back and say, your money might be better spent somewhere else. Now, if you can afford it, you want this stuff, you don't have to break the bank to do it. You've got family that is, mom, they want to see all this. I get those sentiments. I get those feelings. I get those memories. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to serve you whether you want to just come to my office and have me say, do you take each other to be married? If you do, say a couple of words to each other, vows that you make up in your heart and your mind, and I'll sign the paper, declare you married, and you're done. Okay? But if you are in a position where you want a bigger event, you want to have a nice venue and all the above, I'll make that happen too. But I want you to know the difference, and I want you to know what actually creates this marriage. I want you to know these things. It's important. Trust me. It's very important. So that is my little remark for the day. Dr. Kelsey Graham, DrKelseyGraham.com and KelseyGraham.com on the website. And here's the deal. We can provide everything from the music to the venue, all the way through decorations, you name it. And we can save you money and stress. Go there, think about it, we'll take care of you. Bye. Yes, I want biscuits and gravy, ham and 2 large sweet teas, please.